The low single leg, made famous by the American freestyle wrestler John Smith. Upon getting a dominant grip on your opponent's Achilles or heel, will make them incapable of sprawling. More than likely you're going to run into three different options. From driving into your opponent's leg with them unable to bend their knee backwards, they could be falling down to their butt. Where in Jiu Jitsu it's a guard, in freestyle wrestling you're continuing to wrestle to get that dominant position. And from this you could also see your opponent transferring the weight to the opposite leg. Another scenario could be your opponent realizing their inability to free up their ankle and leg, therefore they turn their knee outwards, lean over the top, continue to try and sprawl. This is going to make it a lot easier to get right up underneath their center of gravity and continue with your takedown. With the third option being whether you drive or your opponent turns their knee down to the ground, tries to stuff your head and limp leg out. This is going to be a great way if you continue to drive to take your opponent's back. By shooting your head to the inside of the leg, this is going to make the opposite leg a lot easier to switch off to when you're trying to chain wrestle and put everything together. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you do see athletes shoot with their head to the outside for a low single. But majority of the time this is usually done from changing levels from a high crutch where they drive their head behind the back of their knee. Keep in mind that every time you're driving behind your opponent's knee, you're transitioning the weight, displacing their balance either to their opposite leg or even better still onto your opponent's hands. Although very different to grappling, when we're talking about mixed martial arts, we used to see this a lot by Kazushi Sakuraba, a mixed martial arts Japanese fighter who would shoot the low single offensively and defensively as his opponents were throwing strikes towards him. Sometimes he would shoot with his head to the inside, sometimes the outside, holding the ankle and holding the knee, with the main objective is as your opponent's trying to hit you is just close the distance. And yes, of course, we had the low single from Khabib Nurmagomedov. As opposed to usually shooting in and hooking behind the ankle, Khabib would usually shoot in and his initial grip was behind his opponent's knees. Cons of this are your opponent still can sprawl, although the pros of this are it's easier to switch off to a body lock and a double leg and put your opponent on their back.